The year was 1919. India was still under tyrant British rule for more than a century now. People and resources of India were exploited by imposing various strict laws and restrictions for the locals by the British government. One such rule had been rolled out recently, known as the Rowlatt Act. In order to oppose it, a meeting was called for a non-violent protest at Jallianwala Bagh on 13th of April in Amritsar, which is in present-day Punjab. There was a festival of Baisakhi on the same day. Hence, many people gathered there to participate after offering prayers at the framers' golden temple with their families. Thus, the crowd included many children, women, and elderly, apart from youngsters and freedom fighters. At the ground for the protest, he quickly gathered his troops and reached the venue. Since it was a non-violent protest, no one was carrying any weapons, nor were there any safeguards. However, General Dyer's troops were well armed. As soon as the troops reached there, they surrounded the only narrow passageway there was for entry and exit, thereby stopping anyone and everyone from escaping from what was about to go down, which was one of the most gruesome incidents to have ever taken place. General Dyer, without wasting any time, ordered his men to open fire. According to some records, around 1600 bullets were fired within 10 minutes. As per the government records, hundreds of people lost their lives, but in reality, thousands of souls perished that day. Some due to gunshots, others due to stampede, suffocation, or severe blood loss from the gunshot wounds. There were only a handful of survivors left, along with the heart-wrenching cries of babies and blood-curdling screams of the wounded. Jallianwala Bagh had turned into a graveyard within a few minutes, with bodies of recently deceased and pools of blood in the spaces in between. Among the survivors, there was a 20-year-old boy who was serving water to all the attendees before the massacre took place. He witnessed this whole incident unfolding in front of his eyes. Shock does not even begin to define the way he and other survivors felt. Such intense feelings ignited this young man's soul on fire, so much that he went on to do something so unimaginable by anyone at that time. This boy was born in Sangrur district of Punjab on 16th of December 1899. He was named Sher Singh by his parents. Unfortunately, both his parents died when he was just 8 years old. So he was raised in an orphanage. At the orphanage, he was known as Udham Singh, which stuck with him till the end. Upon witnessing such a horrendous incident, Udham Singh made a pact with himself to assassinate General Dyer to avenge the death of all those who lost their lives that day at the hands of his troops. Following this, General Dyer was forced to retire, so he went back to Britain where he was given £20,000 as a reward along with appreciation. Task at hand had become a lot more complicated for Udham Singh since General Dyer had gone back to his country. However, to fulfill his commitment with himself, Udham Singh joined a party known as Gadar Party and started gathering funds for weapons and travelled to Britain. During this, he got apprehended for the possession of illegal weapons under the Illegal Arms Act and was sent to prison for 8 years. Prisons during those times were having unlivable conditions, and spending 8 long years was enough to break any normal person's will, wishes, and commitments. But Udham Singh was no ordinary man, since the fire he carried within him to avenge those poor souls was far stronger and brighter. As soon as he was released, he got back on the horse to continue his journey towards his ultimate destination. So he quickly travelled to Britain via Zimbabwe and Brazil. After reaching London, he started working there to gather enough money to buy a gun. Once enough money was gathered, he bought a 6-shooter, a revolver that can hold 6 bullets at a time. Now he was waiting for the right time. While waiting, he once crossed paths with General Dyer. Though they came close, General Dyer wasn't aware about the Udham Singh's intentions, and to Udham Singh, it didn't seem to be the right time, as he wanted to kill him in front of a large crowd. He didn't have to wait for long. On 13th of March 1940, a huge gathering was arranged in London, where General Dyer was invited as a chief guest. This was the perfect opportunity. Udham Singh, without wasting it, attended the meeting with a book. Once inside, Udham Singh got close to his target, so much so that he wouldn't miss. General Dyer noticed him, but since he was unaware about the existence of Udham Singh and his intentions, they just locked eyes. The book Udham Singh was carrying was concealing a fully loaded gun. As soon as the time came, Udham Singh took out the gun from the book and emptied it entirely, killing General Dyer on the spot and becoming the real-time Avenger who avenged the deaths of thousands and reclaimed the honor of Mother India. Once the target was neutralized, Udham Singh dropped the gun and surrendered himself. He was taken into custody, after which a sentence was passed to hang him till death on 31st of July 1940. And thus came the end to the story of one of the most heroic Indians, the real-time Indian Avenger. To everyone who has listened to the stories till now, I'm really grateful. Do like, share and subscribe as more stories are on their way. I'm Nisar Mehta and these are the stories of victory and valor from India.